on the rim. There's trail pressure, but this is too low. Would destroy the rim like this. So let's get some air in there. And I also need to switch up the sensor of my other board. As you've seen in the last video, it has a serious ghosting issue. This one just doesn't want to start. It has some issues, I think, with the connector to the controller, because when I installed this footpad, I've noticed that the connection was not locking in as it was supposed to, and I couldn't fix it. So I hope that's the issue, that there's nothing else wrong with that. But first, let's get some tire pressure. For the street board, and it's necessary because we are at 6 psi. So let's get started. Boom. Let's feel it out. I always like to feel it out on the machine itself, because that gives you way more information than just a number. It's always different tires, different profiles, different boards, different settings. So you have to feel it out. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see if it engages on tricks, because that's where it has been lacking. If you ride slow, it doesn't engage properly. Sometimes it just works fine, so it's strange. It's just when I'll go ahead and start on the other machine with the ghosting issue, because that's a lot more dangerous. I wanted to ride it until the pad was fully crashed, but we're not gonna do that. Safety first. I also want to be safe for my surroundings, and this thing shooting off in the distance in the forest is no issue. Not a big issue if there's no water, but you don't want to have that in the city. So that's where I definitely want another sensor pad on the little donkey. Let's change up the footpads on this ghosting machine. They have done good service, but they dead as a daisy. That's probably why I had my last ghosting issue, because the full sensor is peeling off. There's dirt under there. There's pinches in this grip tape, so it needs to go. This one also is a bit of a higher pad, and I'm gonna change them. I have two new pads in this style, and they are both normal ones, so I'm gonna be flatter on the board, and let's see if that's something that I enjoy, or if I'm gonna stick to the raised pads or the higher pads. Let's check it out. Pins connected. Now I got to get that ring in there, and that's how it, the hard part. Okay. Now hopefully get it locked. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if she works. I have to take it on the ground. You have a lift off. Right on! New sensor installed. Let's also change the back foot pad, because I have matching foot pads, and let's get some color in there. Whoop! giving it just a little clean, because Belgian mud is still the best sealant that you can get for your one wheel. It is not fully waterproofed, but by doing some sessions in the Belgian mud, you are all good to go for the rest of the winter. So let's keep it like that. I'm already very pleased with this Vario rails, because usually when I change something on a one wheel on stock rails, you always have an insert that is broken or something that is, that is no longer working. So you definitely want to have some good rails that you can keep for a long time without having to work on them or change them up, because you want solid inserts and a board that keeps running. All right, looking good. Finally have some color on there, goes good with the purple. And I do need to get used to this again, because the footpad is less high than the old one, but it should be flatter now. So let's give it a spin. Seems like good engagement. And no ghosting when I stop. It still is not posy, and it activates very properly. You should have the heel lift option. Yeah. Don't really like that for tricks, because sometimes you kind of land like this and then. But I'm glad that I don't have a ghosting machine anymore. Check it out. Okay, one board fix. Luckily, I still have a sensor pad, the one that I used in Portugal last year on Fabio's board, but it also had some engagement issues. Like it shuts off on me, and we're gonna have to fix that if we want to have a proper sensor pad to go riding. So let's go get it. It should be in here. Yes, some grip tape. And it is in a sure stance box, but it is a regular foot pad. So, ayo, let's go. So this is an extra thick plastic layer that they put in between the sensor and the original grip tape to make it less sensitive. But as I'm a very light rider and I have a very small footprint on the pad, a light footprint, I always have issues with these kind of sensors, so the plastic has to go. So wish me luck that we don't damage the sensor, because it's kind of a nifty task to get the top layer of plastic, only that one, out of there. So fingers crossed that we don't screw this up, because sensors are really becoming an issue, especially in Europe. We don't have the TFL sensors, the hammered ones yet, which I really would like to have. So for now, we have to do with what we have. We have Stoke Solutions selling some sensors. The V4 is actually awesome, especially if you want to ride with footholds and whatnot. So hopefully we can still manage with the sensors that we have until the Float Life sensor comes over to Europe. footpad done. So the issue I have here is that this ring cannot lock anymore. So I now put some little mousse in there that should keep the connector in place, because I think sometimes the connector is moving a little bit and causing bad connection. So I hope that this little fix will already help. If not, I will have to change something. I hope it's not the lock on the controller, because then I'm pretty much fucked. This one is still replaceable by the other footpad that I have. So let's give it a test and see if this little cheap solution works. That will be mighty fine. Otherwise, I'll have to look further. Hopefully then it's the footpad connector and not the controller connector, because otherwise, yeah, we know what's up. Time for a test. Still have it. Should get it posied. It's like riding on the speed is not an issue, but the moment that you start jumping, I had a few instances where I got thrown off of the board because it stopped working mid-air, and that's something that we definitely want to avoid if we don't want to break anything. So there's definitely something not okay in that connection. Let's change up the footpad, see if that changes anything. Otherwise I'll freaking need a new controller. I just installed the new footpad where I removed the plastic layer from. So let's see if this is a solution. I did get a better connection and I was able to lock the cable to the controller. So that probably means that it's the connection of the faulty footpad. That's already a relief, because the controller is a lot more expensive to exchange. Because the controller is a lot more expensive to change, and I just want to ride this thing a little bit longer. This is actually still my original 4209 controller, which has done me no bad. It's been such a good machine. I really still love it 5 years after I still love it 4 years after my first purchase. So let's give it a test run. Fingers crossed that we have a better connection and better starting options. It's not posy yet, but let's see if it already brings some relief and has better options to go. Feels nice on the get-go. The connection I'm used to from Future Motion. This is how it engages properly. It must have been the connection. Oh, I can do shove it and back 180s now again. That's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about Future Motion sensors. You can just take your board like this, throw it there, and if you have a good connection. Haha! And we have one again. Whoop! Alright, that makes me very happy. My two Future Motion freestyle free ride boards are yet again in order to go shredding. We can go bananas again, we can land tricks, throw airs again, and go all out. So speaking of that, I'm gonna throw on some protection and let's go for a ride. Let's see if I can find a little drop spot somewhere here where I can test the activation of this sensor, because that's where it definitely was always leaving me in trouble. So let's see if that is fixed now.
As you can see, sensor is doing a proper job. We definitely tested it in there, which is very difficult terrain, loose gravel, sand, and it holds on pretty smoothly. Very pleased to have a good working and safe sensor again. Alright, good times, and on that note, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bam!